What is up? How's Phil?
Hey, it's the week before Christmas.
It's the week before Christmas, which means no show next week.
No show next week.
So, unless, like SHTF pops off, but an SHTF that still allows the internet to function, maybe. But most likely, no show next week.
Yeah.
It's, both of
Quite
our
honestly,
beards,
it's
both of our
already
beards
lit
are
off.
going just a little sideways here, man. You've got like a swoop. You slept on your
Yeah.
face last night. I needed a trim.
No, this is my beard is curly. And I'm
Oh
at that
man,
awkward length where it's not long enough. So I even have product in and it is still just won't straighten.
that's
So I
awesome.
either have to cut it way down or let it grow longer. And right now I'm in the let it grow longer.
Well, I might be throwing my resume into a position in the next little bit, so I might have to go get dialed up.
De-scruff.
The angry homesteader look maybe doesn't look so good in an interview situation. So
Yeah.
I won't. I don't want to share too much about that. But anyway, hey, how are you? Things you got 4 feet of snow.
Yeah.
That's almost. If we got 4 feet of snow in Missouri today, it would be an SHTF event. It'd be
We
it'd
got
be
about
crazy.
24 inches in a 24-hour event.
Woo.
And it was not the first snow. That was I think the third major event of the season. Anchorage got hammered with another 20 inches last night and today.
Good
So
times.
I mean the weaklings up in Anchorage and Eagle River, they're all crying.
My buddy is
So,
up in Eagle River. He's not crying. He's equipped.
uh-huh.
He's equipped. He's the kind of pastor. He's the kind of big church pastor that plows the driveway himself. Plows the church parking lot himself. Shout out to all the pastors that do the plowing. That was me. I know that's been you.
Yep.
100%.
Has been. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I
no,
remember.
in typical Anchorage fashion, at the church that I was pastoring, I had to do the shoveling and the plowing on top of paying a company to do it
Oh yeah, yeah, because they did such a piss poor job of it.
because they
I
sucked.
uh I did it. It was a
And then
joy
they
for me
like come
because
by and they'd plow on Monday,
yeah.
and I'd call their office and be like, "That was supposed to happen Saturday night." "Oh, we
Well, when
couldn't
I
get you,
was
so we did it on Monday." And I said, "Well, I'm not paying for it."
when I was pastoring in Southern Oregon, I was the guy. I was the guy that did the plowing, and it was awesome because I would get on the four wheeler in the morning and I would plow
Yeah.
our driveway so that my wife could go to work, and then I would
Yep.
leave and I would go plow the churches because we had a preschool, so you got to get there pretty early, get the church all squared away. Then I would go and do 4 or 5 elderly families' houses around town because in the town I lived in, I could just drive the four wheeler where I was going. And by the
Right.
time I made it home, my driveway looked like I had not plowed.
Right.
So, but we used to joke that I lived in the most Alaskan-like city in all of Southern Oregon, or in
Oh,
all of
quite
Oregon.
often it was colder there than it was in Alaska, or at least
Absolutely,
in the banana belt where I live.
for sure, for sure, for sure. So, no, anyway, so winter's in full effect. We're headed toward sub-zero temperatures in the next week or so. So we're gonna have all kinds of
Oh, that's
battles
coming.
for fighting for pipes and freezing and those kinds of things. And living
Yeah.
in the fifth wheel trailer is always a good time in the freezing time. So,
Did you do the hay bale skirting?
we're in process. I've got to go pick up about 25 more straw bales to go around which is fine because they're just gonna I'll use them in the garden in the spring. So like I don't
Oh yeah,
mind.
yeah. There's
So
no end
it's
to
no
uses.
problem. Yeah, it's no problem at all. So I'm gonna pick up a few more of those tomorrow, and then yeah, so we'll be in good shape. But today I've been working on metal all day today. I've been making Christmas tree dinner bells. I've got a little video on YouTube, and it was a ton of fun, and it got some real traction. And so I've got a few orders. So I've been fulfilling metal
Oh, you're selling
orders.
them.
Yeah,
Nice.
yep. So it's been fun. We have a good time. So if anybody out there needs a Christmas tree dinner bell, go check out Free State Homestead. You can see what I'm talking about. But shameless plug. Trying to make buy pig food. That's what I'm raising money for pig food. That's what I'm doing. So anyway, we got some headlines. Hey, thanks for running the show last week, and everybody, if you watched last week's episode, I know my audio stunk. I was on the call-in deal. I thought it worked pretty well for what it was as I was driving across country. But yeah, we don't try to do the show like that very often because let's face it, it's almost painful to listen to me in that situation. So anyway,
Maybe if you had
um,
a better phone.
yeah, oh no, my phone's just fine. You
If you
leave
got
my
away
phone
from
alone.
that communist phone, yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah, sure. So hey, listen, hit me with your favorite headline, man. What are we looking at today? What are we watching? What's out on the horizon that people need to be paying attention to?
Oh, I don't know.
I'm gonna
More of the
make you go
same.
full screen for
Let's
one
see.
second.
Pedophile Democrats are still being pedophile Democrats. They literally pick and choose the worst of the worst to be in our government routinely.
Yep,
So
yep.
what do
That is
what are
true.
you going to do?
That is true.
It's nothing new for them, and they're not going to stop doing it. So maybe we should stop being surprised and actually do something about it.
Well, there's that. That is an option.
So,
Sorry, I'm tracking down power. I didn't realize that my laptop was not actually plugged in. So
okay.
there we go. So yes, that is true. Yeah, we got another yet another Democrat that's been caught in what leftists do.
Well, we
Yeah,
have a
usually.
leftist that was caught. Another Twitter employee. Is actually going to go to jail here. He was sentenced either yesterday or today to 42 months in jail. He accepted about $250,000 from the Saudi royal family to provide uh, Twitter information, insider information. They basically hired him to be their spy.
Yep.
There's not information on in the article about who he did the spying on. It could be that they did it on Saudi citizens because just about anything and everything is illegal in Saudi Arabia.
That is true.
Despite the fact that right now it's popular for the liberals to like Saudi Arabia,
Cool. Yep.
which makes zero sense. Um, if you're a homosexual, they hang you and cane you in the street and kill you,
Yeah.
stone you. They
There's
cover up
zero
the women. I mean, they abuse children,
zero human
all sorts of
rights situations going.
atrocities, absolute atrocities. Um, but yeah, I mean, Democrats are they're all about controlling what you do, and everything that they do is okay, no matter how illegal.
Right.
Um, I was trying to
Rules.
find what state it is, but currently there's a one of those runoff situations where it was too close to call, and they're having another reelection.
Yeah.
Right. And so the Democrat that is leading that they are putting all their money behind to support was actually jailed for having an extramarital affair with a 17-year-old. After he got out of jail, he married her. So he's a convicted pedophile,
Yeah.
and they're going to put him into I don't remember if it was the Senate or the House, but Congress. You put him
Yeah.
into Congress.
Yeah. That sounds great.
You know, so he'll get a security clearance. He'll have control of things. Of course, then we have the baggage thief,
Oh yeah.
cross-dressing
Hey,
embarrassment of a
at least he got fired.
person. He got fired. Yeah, we'll see if he actually does jail time. I mean, he's got two felony cases in two different states. But
Wow,
hey,
that's
I
crazy.
mean, if only there was some way to have known that he was predisposed to criminal activity.
Hmm.
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 How
I
he
did
passed a
see.
background check is the real question.
Right. Right. That's a great question. Um. Speaking of, that sounded good. Hey, I've been there, man. I've been there. I understand
I
completely.
don't know what that was. Did you see the fly that went in my throat or something? I don't know what it
No,
was.
I'm pretty sure you just choked on yourself, man. That's a good time. But no, I also
If I
saw
could do
that
that, I wouldn't be married.
Yikes. Anyway, family. This is a family show. But
Oh, is it?
it's It's not. No, no, it's not. It's really not.
Oh, it's not.
Don't show your kids this show. Nope, nope. We're the least religious preachers you'll ever hang around. But no.
Which
Anyway, I
means that
saw.
they're probably safe around us.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
That's
that's a
right.
good
We
point.
won't be trying to stick things in their butt.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's true.
Yeah. That's a
I did
Catholic
see
thing.
that Lauren Boebert won, so
I don't
we
know who that
will.
is.
She is a House of Representative, third district in Colorado. Which if you
Colorado,
know
fallen state,
if people are paying attention, Colorado has gone absolute total leftist.
but
Low,
possibly worse than California. They don't have
really
the
solid.
fallout from it yet, but their policies are coming in
Yeah,
worse.
yeah, very very bad. But Lauren Boebert is one of the only conservatives that has won. She's won one re-election. Let me say it that way.
So do they have
Um,
mail-in balloting in the Colorado yet?
mm, Not to the degree that other places have, but it was very close. They had to do a big recount. She just announced yesterday that she won. I don't know that her opponent has conceded. Um, because when a conservative wins, there was election tampering. But if a
Safe bet.
liberal wins, you're
Yeah.
not allowed to say that or you get canceled. But
But
anyway,
not on
she
Twitter anymore.
I don't. I'll be really honest with you. I've met her.
Okay.
I've spent a little time chatting with her. She is a very nice lady. She owns a restaurant in Rifle, Colorado called Shooter's Grill. She was kind of famous on Fox News long before she ran for political office because all the waitresses open carry in the restaurant. They carry they strap big old pistols while they serve you. And it's cool. It's a cool little restaurant. I dig it. She's a nice lady, but I don't like her as a politician. She is very Trumpian, I'll say that. So she's super duper obnoxious. She runs her mouth in kind of really dumb, non-strategic ways. So she gets
So
some
we
good things done, but she
we
bothers me.
have conservatives that are worth getting behind because they have backbone and they're incorruptible, right? And they never really make it very far. And then we have conservatives that just really don't like liberals and Democrats and they enjoy being a pain in their butt. And both of them are useful in their own way.
Yep, it's true. No, you're right. And then you have conservatives that pretend to be conservatives, and they
Right,
get
right,
in
right.
and they make as much money their first time in office as Nancy Pelosi did last year. Dan Crenshaw.
Right.
So whatever. But I think I read his book. I liked his book. He seems like a
I liked his
decent human
book.
being. He seems like a decent human being, but man, oh man, did he turn into a rhino quick.
That's what I heard.
So, anyway, yeah. Not like any political tide is turning by any stretch of the imagination.
No.
But at
No, but
least
more people are waking up to it. And
it deadlocks everything and it firmly plants, lame duck presidency onto Biden. He's not going to get anything done. He tried really hard before the last session ended to get a big assault weapons ban that he couldn't get the votes. So
yeah.
I'm really thankful for that. Yeah, but nothing real. I did see that there is a high-ranking Russian general is calling for nuclear strikes. He's actively, which is kind of new and different. Not really, but
Same, same.
it's the first time that anybody has like openly said this is what we want. They always dabble around with the whole, we could do this if we really wanted to, but um, yeah. So anyway, I would imagine that we will probably see before the end of January, we'll probably see at least a nuclear test coming
Mm.
from Russia. I think that that's what they're going to do to flex a little bit.
Do
They'll
we
break
know
the
if
treaty.
Russia has ever actually pulled off a tactical nuke of any sort? I don't
They've
believe they
had
ever
some
have.
successful tactical nuke tests in the
Okay.
bowels of Siberia and stuff like that, and they've had
Oh, okay.
some tactical nuke. Um, testing it at sea.
Well,
So,
if they didn't have the formula right, the Clintons probably gave it to him.
boy, that's for sure. Or Obama.
Very possible Obama as well.
Let us
Yeah,
not let us
although he
not
was more
forget.
of a Chinese
Yeah, but let
support.
us not
He's more
forget
Manchurian.
the hot mic that was between Obama and Putin when Obama leaned in and said, "Don't worry, when I get reelected, I'll be able to help you more."
Oh
So,
man, he's Manchurian in all sorts of ways.
oh, buddy, you are not kidding. You're not kidding.
I meant
Oh, and
Mandarin. Yeah,
Mandarin, Manchurian, all those things.
Mandarin,
So,
Manchurian, all the
um,
same.
so yeah, like we are. I think right now we're in kind of a holding pattern. I like the fact that we're seeing gas prices drop a little bit.
What
So,
was that happening for you?
oh yeah, yeah, big time. Yeah, it's great. In fact, when I was
Yeah,
in Texas last week, I saw $2.16 regular unleaded. I
regular
don't use
unleaded.
regular unleaded. I usually use mid grade or better, but you know the but I was just like happy to see it, so that was kind of nice. And
Yeah,
then we
everything I've got
saw,
takes 92.
you know, we saw
So
we saw we saw some way more affordable diesel yesterday or the day before as well. So
mm,
that's good. I don't know how long they'll be able to sustain that, especially
we're
playing all
still
the
sitting
games
at
with,
about $5 for diesel,
yeah,
but that is
which is,
50 cents less than it was a couple weeks ago.
well, that's good. That's great news.
Yeah, I'm not burning a lot right now. So, although
No,
I
you're,
get awful gas mileage like this, you got to run the truck for a long time, and of course,
yeah,
we're still battling a lot of EPA bullshit. So,
really.
under the guise of making everything better in the world, they force vehicles to get half the gas mileage that they could because somehow that's better.
And I don't know if we talked about this a couple weeks ago, but
Hmm.
did you see the guy who had put on Facebook, was selling a truck that was deleted, um, and uh, and they straight rolled up on his house and was like, you can forfeit your truck, or you can put it in the shop
Put it
today
all
and
back
have
on.
all of that stuff, put it all back on. So
Yeah, that's a pretty common thing now.
he
There's
took
a
it and
bunch
had
of
it
those
crushed.
stories. He went and had it crushed.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, you need to live in a state where it's more difficult for that to happen. If I remember right, he was back on the East Coast, like New Jersey or somewhere like that.
I think so. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That would not fly here.
Um, which
Not
is why it
not
made it so far. Because anywhere else you could just say, "Oh well, it's a farm truck."
right. Farm truck. Yep,
Yeah.
selling a farm truck.
So, and the reality is, until somebody starts actually physically fighting back, they're going to continue with this nonsense.
That's exactly right.
So, I'm glad that by far the majority of diesel pickups in my area are all deleted.
Yeah,
It's more like I'm in the minority because I haven't had a chance to do it yet on this truck,
yeah.
um, and I'm in the minority.
Well,
So
you're not terribly long outside of your warranty, right? You said you weren't even going to consider it
I'm out
until
by
you got out of
years.
your.
So yeah, the pickup that
Okay.
we're talking about only has 60,000 miles on it.
Yeah,
It's had the DEF system replaced completely once and partially a second time,
because
and
they're
it
a
is
joke.
failing a third now at 60,000 miles,
Right.
which is why I hate the EPA. And
Oh yeah,
anybody that thinks that it's a good thing, I'd like to punch them in the mouth,
I'm with you.
costing me tens of thousands of dollars
Yeah,
for no reason, mostly
it's
because
abs.
you're an idiot.
Yeah, it's
You
really
believe
foolish.
somehow that's better, and it's just not. It's
Yeah,
the
this,
exact same boat as the people that think corn goes into fuel.
yeah, it's
You're a
exactly right.
special kind of touch, and you have believed lies, and no one can trust you because you don't know how to find truth or discern truth.
Yeah,
So,
that is absolutely true. Because I
so
mean,
you really can't be trusted in anything.
if you are, if you are so gullible that you can fall for any scheme
Obvious
uh,
lies. Yeah.
of the government that is only trying to harvest more and more of your freedoms away,
It's the
whether
same
it's,
people that walk around with vacuum cleaner bags on their faces thinking
yeah,
that it was doing something. after they
Exactly.
sewed holes in it.
Exactly.
You're
Exactly.
a special kind of stupid.
Yep. I totally
I see
agree.
you and I just don't even think I can save you, so I just go the other way.
I think that, yeah, absolutely. I'm absolutely just, I'm shocked at how, there's a great line, and maybe I've shared it before, but from the first Men in Black, they're sitting on the, they're sitting on the bench, overlooking the Hudson River, and Will Smith's character says, "Why don't we just tell people that there are aliens? People are smart." And Tommy Lee Jones says, "No, people are reckless and afraid, and dumb. A person is smart." And I think it was backward of that. A person is smart. People are
Right.
reckless, dumb, and afraid. And that's absolutely true. And the last 2.5, 3 years has absolutely proved that that is 100% true. When the fear starts to roll, and I think that everybody needs to look at the COVID season and just dial it up. Like, they just need to go, okay, so when stuff really goes crazy, I mean, you think about all the food shortages, you think about the runs on fuel, you think about the crazy nonsense that we watched happen, the fear, the peddling of fear, like it was a street drug. Um,
Mhm.
that you look at that, and we're talking about a virus that killed less than 1% of people. Okay, and that's how the world reacted. Now imagine if it had actually been a real crisis.
Well, the real crisis came when people got that Fauci ouchie, and
Boy,
I
it's
don't know if
coming,
you've
man.
started crunching the numbers or not yet, but, um,
Oh, way more
it's
people have
somewhere
died.
between 6 and 10%
Yeah, way more people
have
have died
have
of the ouchie
died
Fauci,
from getting that shot.
with giant blood clots that are like this long embedded in their
Right.
hearts.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and so I was discussing that with my wife, last night, actually, and we were talking about that documentary. Did you watch it yet then? You must have watched it.
I
Um,
watched the
trailer?
condensed version. Trailer. Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
So, um, in one location, the mortician, had in the course of his process, right, uh, the embalming process, had run across 100 people in the under 1,000 that he had embalmed were affected by these strange clots, and 100% of them had been vaccinated.
Mm,
But that doesn't bring into light all those that don't get embalmed, which is actually a really significant portion. So unexpected deaths
right.
don't tend to get embalmed because they get, um, help me out here, they get burned up instead.
They get,
They
oh
get
yeah, yeah, yeah,
cremated.
cremated.
They get
Yeah,
cremated. So a lot of people don't do embalming if you're going to cremate right away, which is something that poor people do.
sure, that's exactly right. And then a lot of times poor people, even if you want to get buried in a casket, don't get involved. So they, you
You just
know,
have to do it really quick.
yeah, you just
Yeah.
have to do it really quick. And so it's like you sit in the refrigerator, and then when it's
Yep.
time to go, they roll you out, they show you off, they stick you in the ground. Like, I mean,
Quick.
but I mean, if you think about it, embalming is something. If you don't have your affairs in order, like if you don't have like a death burial insurance plan or prepaid something or other, embalming is
It's five,
crazy
ten thousand
expensive.
dollars just for the
Oh, it's
just for the
crazy
embalming.
expensive. And
And then there's the other stuff, the
I
paint
don't
and everything else.
understand. I really don't understand the appeal to it. I'd much rather my family
I
have
think
that money in
it's
their pocket.
Yeah, I agree. But I think it's one of those where you're going to do it in like a week or two after the death to give people time to get there, and you want to have some big, huge ceremony, right?
Yep.
Um, I think that's a secular thing. I don't know that that's a lot of Christians, because Christians kind of grasp onto this concept of, this is just the first
Yeah.
death. You're going to go sleep for a while, and then you're coming
Yeah. We're not
back, and we know where
afraid.
to go. And so,
We're not afraid to
yeah,
die. We're not
no,
afraid to die. And I got to tell you, one of the things. So I rip on our denomination, the F word, your denomination, not mine anymore. I rip on the F word quite a bit, and we rip on Portland pastors quite a bit because they're just leftist weirdos mostly. and a dear friend of mine who leans way further left than I wished he did, who is an F word pastor. Um, uh, uh, he was when I was very encouraged. Let me say it this way, because all that was very negative. This is very positive. I was very
Do I know who this
encouraged.
person is?
Yeah,
Okay.
Andy. Yeah, yeah. You know Andy. But anyway, I loved it when even him at the peak of the fear mongering, at the peak of the fear peddling,
Hmm.
he and with church closures and and all those things that was happening, I loved it. I had him on a Christmas podcast, and he said, "Since when are Christians supposed to be afraid of death?" Like, I loved it, man. He's just like, "No, man, we're gonna have church. We're gonna have church because we aren't supposed to be afraid of death." And I was like, "Thank you." So
Yeah.
I was proud of him. I was proud of him.
Yeah.
You didn't
Good.
see a lot of leftists, and you certainly didn't see a lot of leftist pastors. A lot of West Coast pastors, they
No,
bowed down. They bowed down to the
they
government. They
did.
were like,
Yeah.
they were,
I heard of multiple I-5 corridor pastors that were essentially checking vaccine passports at the door to let
oh
people in the
yeah.
church. That made me pretty angry.
A lot of those pastors straight up let the government in. They had
Yeah.
Oregon had started like a help, let's help you get restarted task force thing, and all you have to do is register
Mm.
to be a part of this thing, and we'll help you get going again. And a lot of pastors went, "Okay, that sounds great, put my name on the list, boss." And then what that
Wow.
did was it basically put COVID inspectors in these big churches so that they could narc on the government. And in fact,
Compromising the body. Yeah.
one of my friends' church, he said it was the worst mistake they ever made. They legitimately thought that they were going to be able to open faster, and all those things. And no, man, it was terrible.
Well,
There was
liberals tend to be fooled by those things because
It's
they
true.
blindly trust in these idiotic policies and people, and they believe the best about people that have given them no reason to believe positive things
Yep.
about them.
Yep.
They're not skeptical of anybody but a conservative. Um, they a lot of them have a pretty solid Trump derangement syndrome. Um,
It's true. It's absolutely true.
so
So
I
speaking
mean, I
of
get it, and you and I are not Trump lovers at
no,
all, but
we're
we're not
not.
deranged.
No, we're not. Because we're able to see the good things with the bad things. He did good
Well,
things, he did bad
we
things.
praise him when he does positive things, when he's the first president in like 5 or 6, if any president, to ever say rights of the unborn children and talk about gifts. Children are a gift from God. They need
Yeah.
to be protected. Since when
Yep.
have we heard a president say that
Oh
sitting in the
man.
White House? Carter wouldn't even do it when he was sitting.
No. No. Bush didn't do it.
So,
Nope.
nope, Bush didn't do it. Reagan didn't do it.
So
True conservatives.
speaking of Oregon and
Yeah.
the I-5 corridor, Oregon
Okay.
has even though there is an injunction stopping Measure 114 right now.
Are they doing
Um,
it anyway?
uh,
You and I
they
said they
are
would.
they have effectively stripped Oregonians of their Second Amendment rights, regardless of the injunction, because the Oregon State Police has frozen. I believe there is 64,000 people sitting in the queue to have their 4473 processed, and they are all being denied their rights to buy a gun. So if you live in Oregon, first question is why,
Yeah.
and the second, and you need to buy a gun right now. It's actually easier to buy it in Washington. If you want a long gun that is not an AR, so you want a shotgun or a hunting rifle, you need to go to Washington. I had a friend was like his son's getting into
Private sales are
waterfowl
still
hunting.
legal. Private sales
Uh,
are legal.
Not in Oregon.
Really?
You're supposed to do a 4473 even for private sales. They did that about 8 years ago. But
That's
yeah, that was crazy.
unconstitutional also.
I was also unconstitutional, absolutely. But if you so my friend was like, he called me and he was like, "Bro, my kid's getting into waterfowling. I want to go. I just want to go waterfowling with my kid. How do I get a shotgun?" And I was like, "You go to
Move out of
Washington.
Oregon.
You got to get out of Oregon, man. You got to get out of Oregon." And when Washington State, it's when it's easier to buy a weapon in Washington State, man, things have gone horribly wrong because it's
Yeah.
already an absolute pile of garbage to try to buy a weapon. And so, hey, listen, if you're listening to this podcast from the state of Oregon, get out, vote with your feet,
Well,
move
it's easier to buy a gun in California than it is in Oregon, and that's
today,
saying
right now,
something.
right now, today.
It
That's
is right now
absolutely true
easier and quicker to buy a gun in New York than it is in Oregon. That's
because
how
they're
extreme this is.
right now there is no legal way. There is no legal way to buy a gun in Oregon because they have frozen the system completely, which they said they were going to. They passed Measure 114, and passed is a very strong word. 60,000 ballots out of Multnomah County had one box checked on the ballot, and it was Measure 114. I don't know. I don't know.
They don't even
Smell.
try hard to cheat anymore. They just flat out do it.
Just
But
do it.
that's been
Well,
happening in Multnomah County for like 20 some years.
I have been saying for years now that Oregon perfected election tampering and manipulation,
Election fraud.
and, and
Yes.
they and they and they sold it to the rest of the country.
Yeah.
So
Well, I
you
mean, they
know,
were the test bed for Obamacare as well.
they were the test bed for Obamacare. Crashed the website on about a dozen times. Hired Lisa Loeb to do their theme song. That was pretty fun. You got to go back. Go back. That
Uh,
that that commercial with Lisa Loeb singing about the Oregon dot health or whatever it was, or health.org or whatever that silliness was. That song aged like a fine glass of milk. I mean, that was woo, buddy. That's a good time. But no,
well,
anyway,
Oregon's a crap hole, and we're both out of there. So,
thank
um,
God. But there are
the
still
only
people there that I love
family
that.
friends that I have left there are solidly delusional and arm's length away. So,
I know it, man. I've got some friends that aren't delusional. They just aren't leaving either. So I just makes me
well,
crazy.
they've chosen, they've made their
Some of
choice.
Now I will
They're
say,
they are they think a certain amount of socialism is acceptable to compromise for whatever it
no,
is that they think they're getting.
you may be connected to folks like that, and I'm definitely connected to folks like
Oh,
that
I'm
too.
definitely connected to
But
folks like that.
but
Yeah.
but I will say this, and I'm not going to name any names because I'm not going to out anybody like this. There are some people that are staying because they want to be on the front line. Like I know that there are people that are like, the fight's going to start here, and I want to be where the fight starts. And I was like, interesting.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's like buying a ticket. You and me buying a ticket to Russia and being like, "Yeah, we're going to take the war to them, and we're going to be the first ones."
Yeah, no joke.
They're,
That's
you
just
know,
silly.
and once they run out of like, women basketball stars, I'll get out of jail.
Oh man, let's talk a little bit about that,
No,
man. Let's
they
talk a
don't.
little bit about that.
That
That's
deserves
that's
zero of our time.
Oh, dude, I don't know, man. I just think that you have. I'm just gonna start referring to him as the traitor in chief. I mean, at this point, like
Well, yeah.
I thought, for a while, I thought he was just an inept, senile puppet, and now, I mean, I think that
I mean,
that
that's true.
he is an inept senile puppet, but like he is absolutely a traitor and deserves what a traitor deserves. I'll just say it that way because I want if I say it any deeper than that, YouTube will ban us. But he deserves what a traitor deserves because if when you trade the Lord of War, when you trade the Merchant of Death for a leftist America hating basketball star. I like the meme that I saw today, and we can kind of end it here unless you want to jump in. But like, I love the fact that a guy who hates America traded a lady who hates America, guy who hates America, to a guy who hates America for a guy who hates America. It's like, yeah, basically, that's exactly how it went down.
Well, that's like a mathematical law. I mean, if the common denominator is all the same, then all those numbers can just jump around.
Absolutely, 100%, 100%. So anyway, I guess all that being said, I think right now we are, we've been asking the question whether we were going to see World War III or Civil War first. And I got to tell you, I'm leaning more toward an economic collapse and Civil War over World War III right now.
Hmm. Um, Arguably, we're already in an economic collapse.
I think, yeah, that's what
Arguably,
I
we're
mean. Yeah.
already in a civil war, um, and arguably, we are already in World War III.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we are providing arms to Ukraine.
Right.
They have Patriot missiles now from us.
Oh, that's new? I didn't know that.
Patriot missiles on the ground that we gave to them. Um, yeah, we are just as involved as we were in World War II in 1940.
Yeah. Wow.
So, um, and there are economic sanctions happening heavily, um, globally. China's occupying territory; it doesn't belong to them. North Korea's, saber rattling again. Russia obviously is still occupying territory that doesn't belong to them. Um, there are espionage acts actively happening. It's not a Cold War. Um, we have troops in contact that we don't talk about. We are taking casualties
Yeah.
very quietly and small, but we are taking casualties.
Yep.
Um, we have boots on ground. American troops are in a war zone. So
Did you see that China and India went hot this week?
I don't think so. I was wondering who was going to back up Pakistan. So traditionally, we have backed Pakistan quite a bit because we were using them to get into Afghanistan. But no, I didn't see that. I knew that Pakistan and India, who, if you know your world history, have been butting heads and actively and quietly fighting each other since before Christ. Um, it is their culture, it is their people, and they're still doing it. So anytime
Yeah.
there's a big conflict in where a lot of the major powers are focused, the little skirmishes are going to feel free to take place because none of the larger powers will go in and slap them both around and say knock it off.
Yep.
So I think we're going to see that front get heavy again.
Yep.
So that's no surprise to me. So you're saying that China's backing India.
No, China went hot with India this week.
So China's
They
backing Pakistan.
must be. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Well, but
So,
China occupies a border with India. We forget
and it
that
has been a contested border. I mean, like they don't
because when
agree
they
where
went
that
in
border.
and took over
Yeah.
Nepal and
Yep.
said Nepal is now ours.
Yep.
I mean, remember your movie history with Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt. What was that called?
Oh,
Something 7 Years of Tibet or something or what?
7 years in Tibet. I didn't see 7 years in Tibet.
Is that what? Maybe it's not what it's called. You don't know what I'm talking about. It's an
No, no,
interesting
no.
movie.
That's what it's called. No, that's what it's
Oh,
called. I
okay.
didn't see it though.
It's World War II. Brad Pitt. It's the Chinese communist takeover of Nepal.
Yeah.
So that happened. So in other words, that happened a long time ago. That happened
Yeah.
um, in
It's
the
been
40s,
very.
1940s, 30s, even.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so they have
People
had
forget.
this border
People forget that
dispute. Right.
lots of borders got retooled during World War II or just after.
Well, that's one of Russia's major problems with what's happening right now is their border got drawn where they didn't want it to be drawn with
Yep.
Ukraine and
Yep.
Crimea. And if you watched again, I throw out the movies. Amazon did a special on Russia with what was it called? The woman. It's actually really a lot of fun to watch. It was Helen Mirren, and I can't remember the guy's name, but it's like late, maybe it's mid 1800s or so. Maybe it's even lower. I don't remember. But it's the first time that Russia went and took Crimea again.
Oh wow.
And when they spread all the way to the Baltic Sea and they went all the way to Mongolia and they shut down the Mongolians, and it was basically the largest expansion of Russia in Russia's history back when they
This
were
was
still a monarchy.
I was going to say that was during the time of the czars, right?
Yes, correct. And so to them, this is even back then they were saying, well, those people are essentially Russia, so they should be a part of us. It's been a part of their history for a really long time. And so we just need to stop being surprised. So they have felt jilted or stolen for a long time over where borders are.
Right.
And a lot of it is these are ancient ish, not ancient as in post medieval, right? Post dark era, enlightened times, but only so industrial age.
Right.
There were three, four global superpowers in the industrial age, Russia being one of them.
Right.
And a lot of them want it back.
Yep. It's true. It's
So
very true. And because Russia is really, they say within the next 10 years, Russia's not even going to be a thing. I mean, their civilization is collapsing both economically and
they're,
um,
yeah, they're in yet
people.
another time of having to pivot as a nation. They need
Right.
to redesign where their wealth comes from, how they produce it, how they feed their families, how
But
they
they have a people
exist.
problem too. They don't have enough young people coming up to replace the old people. And there's a like a three-layer like collapse that's falling
They
on
get a lot of
Russia.
threats happening. Yeah,
Yeah, and they
their
and so
SWAT doesn't look good.
that's why we should be worried about them because that's Putin's been I've mentioned it multiple times on the show, been running the propaganda. What good is a world if there is no Russia in it? And there that's not in an address to like we could lose a war. No, he's addressing the fact that they're on the precipice of not existing any longer, and so why
Right.
not just take the whole world down with them? I mean, he's literally maniacal enough to say,
And
like
at the
if
same time, we have historic powers of influence in Europe who want a major reset of the world's population.
correct,
And they'll
correct,
work together to
they
accomplish
will.
these things.
Yeah, they absolutely will. So I mean, it's gonna be an interesting situation, that's for sure. So
We're all going to be fighting.
keep your eyes open,
Make sure you
because
got
it's
those fighting tools. They should be in hand. They should be well practiced, well oiled.
yep,
Make sure you've got a couple in Cosmoline as well.
yep,
Um, and as we've been saying, ammunition may not be cheap, but it is somewhat plentiful right now.
it is available.
Just like in previous times, we learned buy what you can now. You can always trade it later.
Yep,
Um,
I'm
available, just
getting the
grab it.
I'm going to pick up a new one for the man cub tomorrow. His
There you go.
he can't hear you, so he doesn't. If he is overhearing me, he won't know what I'm talking about. But there's a new one getting picked up for him for his Christmas present, so I'm pretty excited about that.
Good deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, buy guns for your kids now. We said, I think last year, I don't remember when we said it, but we've been saying that, just as if you should buy the boots that your children need for the next couple of years, now's a good time to just go ahead and buy all the guns for your children that you want to give to them, and
Yep.
prior to
That's right.
adulthood.
That's exactly right.
So, and don't forget if you buy something that requires a new caliber or whatever, buy the ammunition for it too. Get it
That's
put
right.
away.
Yep. This is
Get
not a
your
new
means right
caliber
now.
though.
Reloading stuff, as far as I can tell, plentiful.
Yep.
I can find primers and
Pri-
powder readily.
I
Um,
still can't find primers readily, but I can find most everything else
they're
pretty
not at
readily.
prices that I want to pay, but
Yeah.
uh, yeah,
I
I
have a
mean,
lot of primers.
just about twice the price
Hmm.
that I
Yep.
paid last time, maybe 5 years ago.
Yep.
So that's rough.
Hmm.
But so much so that I really just didn't get more. I don't need. I
Yeah.
don't
No,
think.
I'm not
I don't
in
think I
need of
need a
that.
lot more. At this point, I'm not planning on donning, battle gear and actively pursuing engagements. I don't see that
No.
in my future. I'll
No.
absolutely hold my territory,
Sure.
defend my household, my city, my business, my whatever. When the fight comes to me, and I
Yeah.
have means to do that well.
Yeah.
I don't have intentions of going after and taking the fight to someone else. I'm not going to go liberate Oregon. You
Nope.
guys had your chance.
You
I'm
had your
not gonna
chance.
go to DC to do anything.
Nope.
I'm not doing any of those things. We are
Nope.
strictly defensive.
That's exactly where I'm at too. I 100% I agree. I have my high ground, and I'm going to stay on my high ground.
Yeah. So no one
So
can misconstrue that we are planning on starting or initiating any sort of civil war
no,
or violent action. What we will do is end a violent action against us very quickly
correct,
and decisively.
correct, absolutely, yes.
And that's what we would tell you to prepare for.
And I would
Be
say this. I think
prepared
you're. I think that people are way more likely to experience a power outage than they will be to experience a violent encounter right now. I mean, I think we're up to
this week. I
25.
I would agree.
Yeah, 25 attacks on the infrastructure in the last 10 days.
Right.
And
I'm
so if
being
anybody
quiet
tells
because
you
I
that,
don't know who it is yet, but it's Antifa.
y- oh yeah, I think so too. I think it's Antifa being contracted by Russia or China. I think, or not even
Or they're stupid
contracted.
enough to just
Yeah,
yeah.
not even contracted. I think it's probably more likely that they're being manipulated and used, but as a
Right.
proxy, you know. So I mean, there is a chance that there are foreign actors on soil doing something, but I think more likely than not. I mean,
Well, I think it's in the same way that we saw with the Black Lives Matter riots.
yes,
There are one or two deployed operatives that are sent to an area to gather the useful idiots.
exactly.
So where those operatives are coming from, we knew with Black Lives Matter where they were coming from.
It's George
They've all
Soros.
since absconded and left with all the millions. But
Oh yeah, 100%. George Soros.
well,
That's where they're
a
coming
bunch of
from.
us called it. This is what's happening. I mean, it was a very coordinated. We were coordinated
Absolutely,
attacks.
absolutely.
Pallets of brick being delivered to the riot zones. Whole game plans of rioting. They had a plan of action. It was an operation. Now, it
Yep.
wasn't very well done. And, when you grab a bunch of blue haired snowflakes, you're only going to accomplish so much. And when they
Yes.
actually made mistakes and came up against true anybody that was going to defend, like when they went up against the Hells Angels in Portland, like that was dumb.
Yep.
A couple of them ended up dead, like right now.
Like right now.
Um, yeah, a couple of when they went up against the locals up here in Palmer, Alaska, that ended really quickly,
Really
really
quickly.
quick.
Yep. They tried to
Just
they tried to come out to the Dalles, Oregon, and dude, folks met them on the bridge at Cascade Locks, turned that bus
yeah,
around,
thou
man.
shall not pass. Like
Yep.
now, your
Yep. You can
options are
have.
turn around and go the other way or die.
That's exactly right. I mean, we were kidding up to go stand guard at some churches. They were coming to Hood River to burn some churches
Yep.
and a Walmart. They can have Walmart. I don't give two craps about Walmart, but I was gonna stand. We were gonna stand guard in a church parking lot because I told the pastor was, I said, listen, if violence were coming to my town, I would want to know that my people could stay home and guard their stuff because I have
Right.
brothers that were willing to come and stand
Right.
guard over the church, and he was very blessed by that. He was very excited to know that he called and stood us down. He's like, hey, they successfully turned them around at Cascade Locks. You guys are good to go to bed. And I was like, cool. But just know,
Yep.
I'll sit in your parking lot all night. I ain't got no problem with that.
Right.
So, so yeah, yeah, that was cool. So yeah, I
So
think
that's
that
the
if
sort
you
of
have
thing we're telling you you should be ready for. Be ready for
exactly,
that. Don't be ready
exactly,
for, fighting the Chinese hordes as they come across. That's a different war. Um,
correct,
be ready for another band of useful idiots gets sent to your area. Be ready for,
yes,
15 a 15-person FBI CERT team
yep,
with a robot.
that's
Those
right,
are the things that you need to prep for.
that's right, that's exactly right. So I say, like right now, if you're gonna
Or now
spend
the
money on
NOAA
something,
police. So did you know that the National Oceanic what is it? NOAA, they have armed police officers, federal
armed
police
police
officers.
officers, yeah, yeah, the weathermen, the armed weathermen,
Weathermen
isn't
have
isn't
armed
that great?
police officers. I just found that out. They did a raid on a fisherman out of Homer, Alaska, in conjunction with well, they did the raid, they performed the operation, and then they called in the Coast Guard.
Ah, okay,
And I'd like to know if they notified local law enforcement before doing it or not. I think just like the last time the FBI kicked in a door, accusing the couple of stealing Nancy Pelosi's laptop, that
Right.
happened in Homer, Alaska, and I don't believe the local law enforcement were notified before they did that either. So
Well,
that's the sort of thing that we're
you
telling
guys don't
people
have
be ready for.
sheriffs. You don't have
We don't
sheriffs,
have a
so you
sheriff.
nope. Are you
No,
the only state in the union that doesn't have sheriffs?
I don't know. I don't know that.
Interesting.
It's possible, but I don't know. Hawaii, possibly, right? Hawaii is similar, late to statehood. So sheriff systems have been around before most city police officers came around, right?
Right.
We're talking old West days, and I have no
Right.
idea how sheriffs work on the East Coast at
Yeah, I
all.
don't either. I don't know.
Yeah, I think counties there are really small, and I don't know.
Yeah. Yep. I don't know either.
I would just say that policing is very different, not just from state to state, but region to region. Um,
Oh
pretty
yeah.
crazy. And out
Oh, for
west,
sure.
we're highly subsidized by the feds. Most departments accept money in exchange for allowing the feds to do whatever they want.
Oh, yeah, it's bad. Real
It's
bad.
really bad.
Yeah, real bad. So I
So
think the
I know you sent me a link
federalization,
to something that happened with the Alaska State Troopers last
yeah,
year. Um,
yeah,
I don't know. It's a little hard to know what to believe there because the supposed grieved party, right?
right. Wasn't
There's
exactly the
definitely a bunch of
model
scumbag
citizen.
idiots. Yeah, there are
Yeah,
definitely some not good sort doing not good things.
correct,
Um, and then they had bad things happen to him, and then it sounds like there's a he said, she said. Nobody really knows the truth.
correct.
So
Yep.
I don't know.
But
I don't know.
I do know that you know, that that lines were crossed, and I think that based on the news report, obviously you can't always trust the news, shouldn't trust the news all the time, but based
Well,
on the news report and based on the way things went down, I mean that trooper, that baby trooper, you know, he hit
so
eject out of
baby
Alaska pretty
troopers
fast.
that have backup that is an hour or more away will end a fight like now. And we had an inebriated old man with a history of confronting law enforcement
Right,
who the accusation was that he threw down or made a lunge or made something, and he was already in a refusing to comply mode. Now, the argument was whether he really had an obligation to comply from the beginning, and
right.
that's real. I don't know. Um, and again, a baby trooper, good chance he doesn't know where that line is either. When they're brand, I mean, we're talking like on probation and on his own,
Yeah,
kind of nutty.
yeah.
But I do know that um, you don't throw down with a trooper and expect to walk away. You'll limp away or get pulled out in an ambulance.
No, they busted that old man up, bro. He was tore
Yeah,
up.
he got forced to comply.
That's right.
So
So,
whether he meant to throw an elbow or not, the trooper picked up that he threw an elbow and he put a stop to it.
or he just said that he threw an elbow because it was
Well, so there was a neighbor who says that she thought she saw it. Problem being, she's a law enforcement wife.
that, and that she didn't come forward for almost 6 weeks. So it's like if she's a law enforcement wife and she would have come forward immediately, I think that's one thing. But I think it gives. I think that
I think no
smells
one
like
asked.
a that smells set up to me because it's like, you know, we need somebody to say this, and they went to somebody that was be considered trustworthy. It bothers me. It stinks, you know. So the
Alaska
bottom
is
line is, it could have been de-escalated. It could have been handled differently, and it wasn't. And it's and
well,
so
and we have a lot of people that drive cars like that pretend to be in situations like that are robbing us blind in our communities.
it's true.
They're
You're right.
messed up idiots.
Yeah,
And
you guys have some pretty ugly stuff
quite
happening out that
honestly,
way.
what happened there possibly saved the man's life because in the area that it happened in,
Yeah,
people are not messing around and people are disappearing because they're sick and tired of their stuff getting stolen. And
that's
we don't
exactly
call the
right.
troopers here. She called the
Yeah,
troopers because she's law enforcement.
that's right. That's exactly right. Because
Did it happen half a
they
block
can't have somebody
away,
disappear in front of their house.
they probably wouldn't have called.
Correct.
So stuff goes down a little differently here. And
Yes.
I like it that way. That's how it should be,
I think so too. No, I totally agree. And the closer we get
which
to
is
full
why
blown SHTF, the more we're going to see that happen.
we are. It's not vigilantism, it's just take care of my own shitism, because when you call a trooper and maybe they'll come, maybe they won't in a day or two to get a report, quite honestly, why call them?
Armed historians. That's what they are. They're armed historians. They come, they show up, and they write things down.
Yeah.
So, well,
Yeah, and
listen,
there's
you
just so
guys.
much shady federal stuff happening that you're just better off making those Fed boys just disappear.
Well, I think that's probably true. Very, very, very true. So,
Definitely don't call the troopers after you buried the Fed boys. The weather, I mean, and ask the weather cops what the hell they're doing carrying guns.
I'm 100% agree with you. I do.
Any
Well, hey,
guns
listen,
to
man.
tell what the weather is?
We're just about to cross over the hour mark.
Okay, then.
I hope
Have a
our
Merry
friends out.
Christmas.
I hope our friends out in Prepperland are gearing up for a very preppy Christmas. I hope that you are giving medical kits and weaponry and ammunition to those you love. And if you have those you love that wouldn't appreciate gifts like that, you should find better people to love. All of those things. So
Yeah, so
yeah,
when you're getting together for your holiday dinners, absolutely challenge your family and friends. Ask the hard questions.
ask the
Make
hard
people
questions.
give a couple of thoughts. You know, if the power went out right now for 3 days, what would we do? Do we
Right.
have enough food to get through a month or two? Um, it's time for people to start to think. And here's the other thing too. If you're still buying Christmas gifts, hear it from me. It's okay not to buy gifts for everybody.
Nope.
Consumerism is not necessarily what the season is about at all.
Yep.
And don't go into debt to buy Christmas gifts for
Nope.
anyone.
Nope. That's right.
That's
I
not what the
totally agree.
season's about.
I totally agree. All right, you guys. Hey, listen, hope you guys have a great Christmas next weekend. Don't forget there won't be a show next week.
No show.
We'll be back in the new year and it'll be awesome.
Well, that
We'll
would be
get
2 weeks, wouldn't it?
that is true. We'll have to maybe come up with some kind of like bridge content or something between Christmas and New Year's. But yeah, anyway, I hope you guys have a great time. Get your stuff as early as you can. Hopefully, you're all done doing all the things you want to do. But we love you. We're praying that you have a great time. We're praying that ultimately you recognize that the best way to be prepared is to recognize that Jesus came to save you from your sins, and get prepped.
Okay, if it's not too late.
We love you. Bye bye.